And by there, from that point, I think they're handling, and it's just like, don't worry about it. After this, we'll just try. Another one will come. After you've had a whatever miscarriage, usually your hormones are still you can produce very quickly. You're like, really?
All right. Hey, everyone. This is Sophie.
Hey, this is Melissa.
Hi, I'm Wanjiru. And this is Ninja Parenting. All right. So this is episode, I think, 4, right? 3. Oh, okay. So I'm so excited. I just feel like we're going to do all of them today.
We can.
We can?
Yes.
Okay.
But before we delve into that, how are you guys doing today?
It's a slow boot day, guys. I'm riding the struggle bus.
Why? What has happened?
It's been a long night. It's just no. I had a late work project, so let's just say.
Yeah. I will say you don't look it. You're glowing.
Oh,
you look
thank
very
you.
pretty.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And you, Wanjiru, how are you today?
I am fantastic. I'm fighting a homa, so this is my dawa here for the day. But I feel good.
Yeah.
I feel really excited.
I feel like today we were expecting that raspy, We were
Yeah,
really
the sexy
waiting for
voice.
it.
I know. I feel
And then you went
disappointed.
and hit it with dawa.
I apologize. Yeah, I'll try. I'll go stick my head out the window today when we're driving home. Yeah. See if
So
I can
how are
get
you
sick.
doing?
I'm good. Today, I took the kids to school, which is not something I usually do. So I had to really get the gears going. So I think I'm still riding off of that energy of let's go. And I think,
up early.
yeah, I'm seeing the value of taking children to school. I've been letting my husband do it, and then I lounge until 10. Now I'm just like, no, I can do better. So I'm feeling really great today.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's something about starting a morning very early.
Yeah, with activity.
The adrenaline just
Yeah.
gets you going.
There's value in that. This is what we can thank our kids for. They get us going. Today, speaking of kids, I wanted to talk about the whole process of having children, the physical process of getting pregnant. And I know we've shared this personally with ourselves, but I think it would be an interesting thing for our audience to hear about our journeys to motherhood and parenthood in general. So let's start with you, Melissa. Yes.
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 If you start with me, it's just controversy.
Let's do it. That's why.
Dive in.
Things get thick fast. Wow. Let's see. So it's the trying.
Yeah.
Number one, I think if you listen to the previous episode, weren't trying.
Yeah.
But weren't opposed to the idea of it.
Yeah.
I guess in terms of we knew we wanted children.
Yeah.
The question was the how many.
Yes.
And so the first, happened. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the second was a discussion, and it was like, I think this one needs a playmate. Yeah. And then we were in agreement, and we did try, and then we scored a goal.
Yeah.
And then it was excitement and everything, because we didn't try a lot. And I remember at that point it was the excitement of, oh my God, it's the baby's coming. You quickly start tabulating. Okay, baby's coming this time. We're pregnant in February, expecting baby this time. The wheels start running. And then I remember I was so excited because I don't know how, but most times I find out I'm pregnant before I miss my period. I just have a gut feeling in me.
Yeah.
And the lines were always faint, and then blood test, and then it's positive.
Yeah.
And so I remember rushing to the doctor, and kimbelembele, you just get there before even there's a heartbeat. So he's like, come back after 6 weeks. I guess 6 weeks plus is when you start getting a heartbeat. So we did. And then there was a heartbeat, the excitement, the joy, Then I went out for a work trip. We had a heavy work gig, and I remember it was at like week 12. So I was due for a visit now that next week. But I do remember feeling off and whatever. And I'd call the guy, and he's like, and I'm like, I'm feeling like something is not working out.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, it's just pains. It's just like growing pregnancy pains. You're fine. But at some point it was so painful. Like it was it was a pain shooting down to my left leg. Like I'd even find difficulty walking. And I'm like, this cannot be,
Kawaida.
Kawaida.
Yeah.
And so I remember now just being like, something in my heart is just not settling well. And so it wasn't until the point where now I started noticing I'm spotting that I'm like, this thing, and the pain was just, and that day the pain was, I literally was limping around. And so I decided, you know what, let me just take myself to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And so I dashed there, we get there, and the anxiety of, hey, okay, so now I guess we have to, of course, the first thing is, when was your last period? I'm pregnant. How many weeks? This many weeks. So of course they have to send you for an ultrasound. That's always the first step.
Yeah.
And so I remember now waiting and the anxiety and just now praying, I really hope there's a heartbeat, because you could see the doctor's face from the symptoms that's looking.
Oh.
And I do remember when we finally, so I called my husband, he met me there, and we're like, okay, so ultrasound, find the ultrasound. And I remember just trying, you're trying to like peep through to see where, to face the screen this way so I can see what's happening.
Yeah.
And then just the guy looking confused. He said, you said you're how many weeks? That's red flag 3,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm 12 weeks. So he said, okay. And I asked him, I can't hear the heartbeat. And he says, we'll send the report to the doctor, don't worry. But I'm like, no, please just turn the screen. I want to see the heartbeat or hear the heartbeat. And he just, I guess because of all my questions, he was just like, okay, this babe, I guess I just kind of have to just show her. So, and then he was like, we can't find a heartbeat. And I'm like, but why is the gestation? Because when you're doing the ultrasound, it does show you the age, like the whatever age of the baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is it showing that the baby is 9 weeks and I'm 12 weeks? So he said, now you need to go see the doctor.
Okay.
So apparently, I'd miscarriaged and the baby had actually started decomposing. So from the 12, now it had started shrinking.
Oh, man.
In the body.
Yeah.
And so, of course, now starting to deal with that emotion and all of that was just a whole other story. It's gone deep fast.
Yeah. It's off the cliff.
Yeah. And so I remember now from that point just starting to just cry.
Oh.
Just the sadness, the loss, the heaviness.
Yeah.
As you now wait to go see the doctor to now tell you the
what you
state
already
the
know.
obvious.
Confirm.
But now it's what are the next steps? And I remember my husband coming in when I was in the ultrasound, and so he came in at the time when now I was being told there's no heartbeat.
Yeah.
And even for him, he just sank. Like you could see him balancing tears, and you can see he's trying to be like the man, but also even him is dealing with like, okay, what is this? So going to see the doctor, but he wasn't our main doctor. And I think at that point, it's also just the importance of having a good gyna. And also the realization that one gyna can be good for, like what's good for the goose.
Not good for the gander.
Is that sometimes one gyna can work for somebody so well, but can be terrible as an experience for you.
Yeah.
Because I do know that we had the same gyna. And she's had fantastic experiences. He's delivered all her children, but mine was terrible. Because at the time when I call him now, remember this is the same guy I'm calling and telling, I'm not feeling well. He's like, it's just growing pains.
Yes.
I had to take myself to the emergency room.
Yes.
I'm now calling him and he's speaking to the doctor to tell him, hey, she's lost the baby. And his reaction was just in the things not to say. And I think the person you're looking for the most validation at that point is actually your doctor. Because like what they say can make or break, I mean, it's one of those things that will either set you off the edge or really just give you some sort of comfort. And I remember, I don't know what he was doing. It was a Saturday. And my husband calls him and he's like, hey, this has happened. And we're in this hospital. And he says, okay, I'm coming. Right?
Yeah.
So he comes, of course, looks like we've just pulled him from a plan. He was having a good time. It was evident. And he comes in and the first thing he does is pull. So he comes in, he's like, oh, Melissa, I've just seen the report. Yeah, we're sorry, but don't worry. We'll just try for another one. Yeah? Pulls my husband to the side and tells him, so now, she has to either go in for a DNC or a tablet to just basically decompose and let the baby come out on its own. So what is the option so now he comes back and like, what of the two, which option do you want?
What is a DNC?
So a DNC is basically you go into theater and they basically like clean out
I think
basically
it's
everything.
dilation and cutilage. So they put in like instruments and actually
They actually
remove out the tissue and everything.
clean out and basically clean out your uterus.
Yeah.
And so you're like, so you're also, even, I mean, that is the first time I was also interacting with all these terms. So you're asking him and says, so you go into theater, we wash you, we remove the baby, then you just go home and heal? Or we give you a tablet that you just go and basically it just begins to, I guess, break down the baby. And so literally you start seeing pieces, like you're actually bleeding out your child.
Yeah.
So you might actually, depending on how far you might start seeing little body parts. And for me, I was just like, I'm not ready to deal with that level of no. So I just said, just take me in for a density, let's just be done.
Yeah.
He pulls my husband to the side and asks him, so you're paying for this cash or insurance? No, I don't want to wait for insurance money. Do you have cash? Just M-Pesa it to me. I mean, it was so transactional.
Yeah.
As in, my husband came back like,
what just happened?
Is this the same guy? Because he's actually the one who had delivered our first one.
Yeah.
And by from that point, I think they're handling, and he's just like, don't worry about it. After this, we'll just try. Another one will come. You know, after you've had a whatever miscarriage, usually your hormones are still very, you can produce very quickly. You know, you're like, really? At this point?
Yeah.
I was so done. I guess at that point, I was just so defeated. It was just at the end, I'm at the mercy of I can't start looking for someone else to do this right now. So we went in, did the DNC, and yeah, now it was, you've went in with hoping you had a child and left without one.
Yeah.
And it's the dealing with the emotions around it.
And had you told anyone other than your husband that you were pregnant with the second child? Because, you know, there's always this conversation about when to tell.
Yeah.
Right? And I remember having that same thought process going on. Because when I found out I was pregnant, the instinct is to just broadcast.
Go and share with the world.
Sambaza this news. It's the happiest thing, obviously.
And you're different. Like, even your body has started to change. Your morning sickness, your whatever. So you have to explain it somehow as well.
But you really want to share that news. But then there's this other, thing that don't say until week 12, because that first 6 or so weeks are very delicate. It's a really delicate time. And that's when most miscarriages happen during that window. So you're just counting down to be like, okay, if I can get past this week, then this week, then this week, then I can finally tell. So had you already made that announcement?
I'd made it to just us. There were a few people that did know. I mean, you guys knew.
Yeah.
We always know.
I know you all.
As we know. We are open up.
Inside.
I guess I had just told my folks when I'd hit the 10-week mark.
Yeah.
So I was like, I mean, it's close enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, it wasn't that many people that knew. It was just really my tight, close-knit circle of people.
Yeah.
And then also you're thinking, see, it's the second born, it's not our first rodeo, type of, so I had told a few people. Yeah.
And so now having then to tell them that you've lost the baby, how was that for you? Were you just matter of fact, or what was your experience like?
How did I tell you guys?
You told us when you were at the hospital.
When you're in the hospital.
Yeah. I think it was as the process was going on. I guess I kept updating you guys.
Yes.
Same thing with your parents, with your siblings.
I think Martin Zan was in charge of that. I think he kind of just handled it.
Yeah.
And I guess his was just like shoot a prayer for us. We're in the hospital.
Yeah.
Type of situation.
Yeah.
Then now, because that text has been sent, it's a follow-up for, hey, we haven't heard from you guys in a while. And then it was the
worst happened.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we've lost the baby. We're still in whatever. She needs to go into theater, so we'll talk later.
Yeah.
So it was, I guess it was matter of fact, sort of, but more updates, out of an update, so to speak. Yeah.
And it's different from a message because you don't see the back end, the emotion that you're talking about, right? So I'm reading this message and I'm assuming you're taking it strong, or, you're fortified, you have Mato with you. But then now when you talk about the breakdown, that is what many of us, we don't get to see. And we're thinking, okay, at least she's okay. And even in our minds, at least in my mind, I'm thinking what your doctor has said is what I'm thinking. I don't say it, but I'm like, she's young, she'll have another opportunity, she has already done it. I'm thinking it, right? But I know that it's not an easy thing to say.
To hear at the moment, yeah.
And I know, Beth, you've had a similar experience. And by the way, guys, Beth is Wanjiru. We
alternate those
alternate.
names based on
Figure it out.
She has very many names.
Yes.
She has
Sweetie,
aliases.
honey, gorgeous. Most people call me gorgeous.
Yes,
actually.
so gorgeous.
Yeah.
How you've been in a similar situation.
Yeah.
How similar is yours to Melissa's, or how different is it?
So mine was with the first baby.
Yeah.
So I think from the last episode, I said that I'd never considered the possibility that a pregnancy doesn't go all the way to term. Like, it was, no one had ever mentioned. It was in the movies, it was in stories, but it could not be me.
Yeah.
Not possible. So we were further along. We were at almost 6 months. And what I recall is that everything was fine, but I'd never felt the kicking. I'd never felt any of that. Just my belly was growing bigger. Ultrasounds are fine and everything. And this may or may not have significance, but I remember it as the experience that happened before. We went for a walk at Karura, and I remember I fell at some point. But it's not like I fell hard. I fall all the time. This is another thing that people don't know about me. Once a month, I fall regularly. It's just a thing that happens. So I fell, and I didn't think much of it. And then 2 days later, I was going for an appointment to the gynae, just a normal checkup.
Yeah.
What was weird about this thing that I thought about it afterwards, I think it was just God, honestly, is one, I asked my mom to take me because Brayo was unavailable that time. So my mom was like, she's never seen an ultrasound before. She's like, wow, I want to go. This seems like, what is this thing you guys do? Like, they put a thing on your stomach and then, so like, let's go and you'll get to meet your grandchild.
Yeah.
And then the second thing about it was that it was the wrong date. So I don't know how I misread my calendar, but my appointment was actually the following week. But now I had moved it a week earlier in my mind. So here I am with my mother. We go to visit the doctor 6 weeks. And the great thing is he has his own machine. So usually you go in, you talk to him kidogo. He gets to know like what's happening in your life and so on. And then now we go into the room to do the ultrasound. You go, you prepare yourself, lie down. It's very awkward, You're just sitting over there with your clothes all the way up until it's due wear.
Yeah.
But, used to it. So he comes in and we're chatting as he's doing this. And there's a routine, he starts to look.
Yeah.
First he checks like the cord. He checks what. And then as we're talking, I'm busy chatting with my mom over here. And my mom isn't noticing, but I'm seeing his face and his expression changing.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting the usual, where's the heartbeat? The baby is not moving and whatever. He's not mentioning anything. And the conversation starts to die. And then I noticed this is a weird thing. And this is what I'm saying, like, the experience can be very different for two different people because it's the same gyna.
Yeah.
But he started balancing tears. And I was like, oh, that's not a good sign. There can't be tears of joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are,
Yeah.
And so I asked him what's going on. He says, I can't see a heartbeat. And there's no blood flow in the cord. Like, this is just a gray area. Because usually it even lights up. You see the blue and the yellow of like the blood and the whatever. And there was nothing. And I don't know, it was so strange. I remember feeling like my ears just, how when you cover your ears and like all of the sound just goes like that. I just remember feeling that. And he's talking and he's giving us facts. Okay, so now we need to go to hospital. You need to get admitted because we have to expel the baby. Because it also showed the same thing that the baby had probably passed like 2 weeks prior.
Oh.
Yeah. So now we go to the hospital. I call Brayo and I let him know we're going to the hospital. They couldn't find a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I couldn't say the words. I couldn't say that we've lost the baby. They couldn't come out. And then I was also thinking he needed to drive from work to come.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's not even rational. Afterwards, we talked about it and he entered the car and he cried the entire way, all the way up until the hospital. So that his tears were finished by the time now he came, so he could be strong. So we go to the hospital, and I think one of the worst things was that you have to push the baby. They can't do for you a CS.
Right.
Yeah. So they actually have to induce labor. And I just remember thinking, this is so unfair. Like, on top of all of that, now I have to labor and give birth. So yeah, we had to get induced. One of the most painful experiences of my life, because the body was not ready. Now they're trying to make the body ready. It took 3 days by the time it finally happened on a morning. And weirdly, this is the only baby I've ever pushed because all the others came by CS. So this is my one and only major labor experience and actually pushing the baby.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me see him. It was a boy. The first one was a boy, and we named him, but they wouldn't let me see him at first. They refused. Like, you'll be traumatized. It's okay. Just say your goodbye. Just say your whatever. And even Brian was very adamant. He was trying to protect me. He didn't want me to see him. But I remember him going to the loo, and then I just called the nurse. I told him, bring my baby. I want my baby now. So they brought him in, and I got to see him at least and say goodbye and say a prayer. But what I regret is that I didn't then do the next step of asking them to let me bury him. So we just asked the hospital to take care of that.
Oh.
Yeah. But it was hard.
Yeah.
Our family kept visiting, but it was difficult to smile and talk. And it was like, it's not a nice occasion, but there's a baby involved.
Yeah.
There's pain because the labor is starting, then it's stopping, but you've been induced. So it's that serious, intense pain. I remember going to labor and actually throwing up. And at some point asking Brian, what is happening? Why is this happening to my body? So anyway, after all that, after having the baby, we still had to go in for a DNC as well. So I remember going to theater at like 5 a.m, coming out. And then after that, I had to go home without a baby.
Yeah.
I remember lying in the recovery room and then listening to other kids crying because, it's the maternity ward. So there's other people who've come
babies.
And they've come out and there's babies crying.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have one. And that was the first time I started to cry. And I don't think I stopped for like 4 days. So like there were periods when I'd go home and I'd be in the shower and I'd just cry. And then there'd be visitors and they'd come in and I'd talk to them and whatever. But when they left, I'd cry again. And then no one tells you this, but your milk comes.
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Because you've given
the
birth.
body has
your
gone
body
through
thinks
the
I've
whole
given
process.
birth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, So I think the thing that was insane to me was, first of all, no one had ever said that. I didn't talk to many people who'd gone through it before. I was the first, I thought, among a lot of people.
Yeah.
But when it happened, they came out of the woodworks. Yeah, like, people are saying, I lost the first one. This is actually our rainbow baby as well. I have an auntie who told me, like, one of the aunties that's closest to me.
Yeah.
And we've known each other for life, obviously my life, because she was there when I was born. But then she also told me that she'd suffered 2 miscarriages. And I was like, but why have you never mentioned? I would have been better prepared. I wouldn't have taken this all for granted. So I think it just made me realize the importance of like what we're doing here, which is having conversations about reality, about what could happen, what couldn't happen. And it's not to strike fear into someone's heart or to say, there's, just to make you scared of doing it.
Yeah.
Because everything in life has risks, especially the things that are worth it. The stakes are higher because, you can get hurt more. But it helps to talk about everything. It helps to share with people. It helps to allow them to know that this could happen. But on the flip side, also, it can be great. So, like, for you, I think it was tough trying, but
yeah. I mean, your stories are so powerful because, again, I've known you guys for a long time, and yet I'm learning new things about what this experience was for you, right? Because my looking at it previously, I was sort of distant. And you can't really know what somebody is going through. Even when they're smiling with you and they're like, yeah, it's okay. But when they close the door, they're bawling their eyes out. And they're alone in this because no one can, even your husband can't really understand what this feeling is. Even as bad as he's feeling. And to be fair, we never really check on the men.
It's true, yeah.
Right? Like, how are you dealing with this loss? Because he was also having a baby, right? He's probably told his co-workers, everyone, his mother.
Yes.
And then for you guys, it's a boy and you know the significance of boys. And then, so they're having that thing. But it's interesting to hear your stories from the loss side. Mine was different in that I was losing something I didn't have. So as I was trying and not getting pregnant, I was experiencing loss. And I was like, this is not going to happen for me. And I was in the same place of, I am broken, I am damaged, it is my fault. It must be something I'm doing. I waited too long. So I had all these explanations as to why it was not happening.
Yeah.
And it was also a difficult thing to tell people and say, like, I can't get pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people just assume, what do you mean?
You're a
16-year-olds
woman,
do
you should
it.
be. Yes, there are people who sneeze and then suddenly they have a baby.
Triplets.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, the babies are too many. Like, I just want one. Just only one.
Yeah.
So and that was a difficult conversation to have with my husband, because for him, he was just like, matter of fact, like, we just do. Well, what is the problem? And I had already gone to the place of, it's not going to happen. So how do we prepare ourselves for this not happening? And I was lucky in that I didn't wait so long, because I know many women, many couples go years and years of just crickets, whether it's with miscarriages or just not getting pregnant at all. And so I was fortunate in that while I waited, it did not take a long time. And I had a very good gynecologist who, I think it's interesting. There's a part of the gynecologist you want him to be matter of fact, like just give me the facts straight. And then there's a part where you want emotions.
Yeah.
You want him to be your mother
Yeah.
also. Like, oh yeah, cry with me.
Yes, yeah.
So it's finding that balance of what do I want to hear at this moment. So I appreciated that our doctor was matter of fact, that this is the issue that you're having. And if we do X, Y, Z, you will be successful. And sure enough, we were. But I know other people have seen the same gynecologist and have come out saying, you guy, he's so matter of fact. He's just straight to the uterus. You know,
I know, yeah.
He did over coffee. And you're like, but that's what you need. You want a guy who will fix the issue.
I remember actually when we were trying again.
Yes.
I remember having to go, and then now I went to yoga. Who I was like, I want somebody who's giving me emotions. I want somebody who's serious about, if I tell you I'm having a symptom, I just need you to be. I need you to take me seriously.
Yes.
Run the tests if you need to, and then just say it's nothing when you've run a test.
Yes.
And so I do remember she was like, the first one thing was, if you're going to this guy, just manage your expectations. He's not your hold my hand kumbaya guy. But you see, the thing is, I think with the previous one, that's what would happen with every session. You'd walk in and he'd spend literally almost 30 to 40 minutes just talking to you. So you've already positioned yourself as this person who, in fact, me, I used to find the talk a bit much, right? But now you've set the bar, and then when it's really important to now have the kumbaya, now you're not available. I mean, where are we? But now moving to this other one, I do remember going into the questions, and I think it was after now grieving, and in the grief I just wanted to just know, was it me? Was it the doctor? I had so many questions, and I think I went into him, and I went to him, and I just went and I was like, listen, this is the situation. I just lost a baby this many months ago. I don't know what happened. I'm just looking for answers. I just want to know, was it me? Is it something in me? Is it something to look out for? Is it like, I just need answers? Was it negligence? I don't know. And for the first time, because really, he delivered my other two.
Yes.
I did see him having an emotional part. You have ever seen him looking emotional?
Never.
He actually sat down and told me, okay, we're just going to run some tests first and just see if there's anything in that could be going on with your body. First and foremost. And then from there, let's have the discussion. And then we came in, and he was in the mood, like he was not at it overly. But you could see even from his expression, he was present in the conversation and understanding the weight of the conversation. And I do remember him saying, okay, your results are in and it looks like everything is okay. The baby, unfortunately, is gone. It's hard to tell what could have happened. It's really hard to tell at this point. But what I can do for you is that we can walk this journey together. Let's start the process of, would you like to conceive? Just that question. And I'm like, yes, I would. Are you both on the same page? And I said, yes, we are. And he said, okay, then let's start the journey. But what we're going to do different this time is we're going to start monitoring you from the minute you see 2 marks on that test. Come here, let's begin there. And truly and honestly speaking, that's exactly what happened. And I went, and sure enough, I had an issue. And this now pregnancy, I had to go in for shots, and I was on Susten. like I had bleeding around the uterus.
Yes.
That basically he was like, if you don't capture this early, the bleeding basically can cave the uterus and suffocate the baby and die.
Yeah.
So I basically had to go see him every single month for about 8 months.
Yeah.
Some of them I'd get shots because the bleeding was too much. And I literally had the bleeding. It completely stopped at about 8 months. So it was a monthly journey of just constantly. So I'm just like, see the difference, of this, the two parts of the care. But I think going back to the grieving process and everything, I think one of the things that I found super valuable was just people being present. I think the presence was that the minute that text was sent out, hey, people had landed in the hospital.
Yeah.
My sister was in the waiting room. My mom was in the waiting room. By the time I was going into surgery, there was a whole battalion, there to just hold your hand for and you could see the loss and it made the tears, kind of come out. Of course, there's just a thing about seeing your mom.
See your mother, you become a baby again.
All the floodgates of whatever open up, know. It's like you're a child again.
Yeah.
And I do remember just that I was sad, but it was a sadness that nobody could understand.
Yeah.
But then I just knew that, first of all, even as I go in, there are people with Mato on the other side.
To support
him. And when I came out, there was that community.
Yeah.
And that was valuable to me even though they can't reach the depth of your sadness.
Yeah.
It was there was people to check on you.
Yeah.
There was people to, and even if it's just to come and sit in silence and make you tea. Or just sit in silence and just ask what you need today.
Yeah.
Or come in and take the nanny and the baby away. Because now I have she was about 2.
Yeah.
And I'm grieving, but this child doesn't know that I'm grieving. And so
yes.
she still needs mommy, wants to cuddle mommy, wants to. But mommy also needs some time to grieve.
Yeah.
So it's just those moments that for me were, and I remember at some point, my grandmother came from Shags, and it's like all the women came together from my home, from my dad's side, and they all came to visit me. And we sat in a room that felt like, like a kikao,
Yeah.
And women poured. You're like, my shosho was like, yeah, I lost 4 babies in between your father, your who, your who. This other one is like this, and and in the end they were like, so this is a part of life.
Yeah.
It does happen.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with you. It's part of the. First of all, I just sat there shook for. Sorry, where have all these stories been? And they're like, yeah. And then others would say even my mother lost, and there's a reason why I didn't have. I was the only successful child, but my mother didn't have any other children.
Yeah.
She miscarried throughout.
Yeah.
I was like the lucky baby that they always had.
Yeah.
And, just hearing that outpouring of stories, and then there's the wisdom of the women. And then in the end, they sat and they prayed. And they really prayed over my womb.
Yeah.
And left. And it was, first, I had so much to process from that conversation for must you have a miscarriage for these conversations to happen? Number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, that conversation was never had again. The next time we met, it was like, hey,
we finished.
Listen, so that story was what happens in Vegas. That, it ended there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I wonder also, and now in hindsight, when is the right time to talk about miscarriages? Because people don't have the conversations when they're also conceiving. People also don't talk about the challenges they're having conceiving. People are like, I know, there's so many people I know who, and just because of the sensitivity of it's such a sensitive topic, they're probably trying, but you can't ask.
Outright.
But people are not willing to just come and say, I am struggling. I mean, sometimes you might be able to refer them and it may or may not work, and it's okay, But I think just generally on both ends, people don't share. In as much as we're saying people don't share about miscarriages, people don't also share when they're trying. Sometimes some people don't share when they've lost. So when is there? And then you can't come and tell somebody, hey, you're expecting, but just, also at the back of your mind, you might lose the baby.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insensitive, right?
It is.
So when's the right?
I don't know if there's ever a right time, and maybe Beth, you can chime in on, for you, after the first loss, how do you then come back and say, okay, I'm willing to try again? given that, are you thinking of the next babies as replacement of the first one? Is there a guilt of now, will I forget this one?
Yeah. All that, yeah. Or will it work? Like,
will it also work?
Yeah, because if you don't know what went wrong the first time, will it
Yeah.
happen again the second time and so on?
And are you more cautious now with the next one, like Melissa was, with going for periodic and constant checkups? Is everyone also now holding that space? Like, do we say anything?
Yeah.
Do we? Is it?
Just walk slowly, don't
just-
fall.
yeah.
Just be careful.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that happening with you? How do you process
Yeah, it is because you're afraid now. It's like you fell into that hole. Now you know there's a hole.
Yeah.
So you walk very carefully on that road.
Yeah.
But then for us, I remember saying that we need to try again quickly. Because I was like, the longer you wait,
Yeah.
that fear builds. It doesn't actually go away. It even just gets worse because
Yeah.
now you start filling it with stories, with newspaper articles, with all of the stories that the moms told you, everybody has told you. Now you're like, yeah, it can happen 5 or 6 times.
Right.
Yeah, so now it starts to just boil and boil. And I was like, I know we want to have a family. We are at the right age. So let's try again. Let's try again fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was that caution, and I think for me every month, the doctor insisted that we do an ultrasound every single time that we come in. So the first 3 months were the most scary because you can't feel the baby. So you're only relying on the ultrasound. So you wait for the 30 days and then you go back and check. And then you can see, oh, baby's kicking, nini.
Yeah.
When the baby started kicking, that was huge because I hadn't felt that with the previous baby. So this became my daily. Is the baby there? Is the baby okay? Is everything fine? More careful about what you're eating, more careful about how you're praying, more careful about where you're walking. I don't think I did Karura, that Mlima again, honestly. And later on, we found out that wasn't the problem. That wasn't the cause. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely scary. And to your point about when is the right time to have this conversation, I don't know that there needs to be a fixed time. I just think that people should be more open about, like, if we're sitting down chatting as friends, it's not at the baby shower. Now let's dump everything on you all at once and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like, if I know you as a friend, I can ask you, so how was it for you? Or I know you're planning to get married, so what are you guys thinking about? Are you guys want to try immediately? Do you want whatever? Hey, for me, this is how it happened. I think that's when it should be, that's when the conversation happened organically.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't become a major thing.
Yeah.
But it's something that at the back of your mind, you're like, okay, yeah, I've heard of these experiences from these people. And yeah, I know that these are all of the possibilities and everything. And then also I know who to talk to if anything were to happen. Because if this person has gone through it before, I can come back to them and be like, I'm facing the same challenge. What did you guys do?
Yeah.
What happened? Yeah, rather than waiting for this occasion, for it to take place. Because then it just becomes, I can't remember half the stuff I was told at my baby showers or even the bridal showers. Like, it was just so much.
it was
Even the wedding day. The people take that day, the
information
speeches,
dump.
the CG.
I think watch the video. That's where you'll get the info. You're not going to hear it that day for sure.
Yeah.
Beth, I have a question for you. So in that moment of losing baby A, and it's A in all the
It is, yeah. We called him Ato, Adal. Yeah, so it is A.
So in the time you were losing Ato, we were there, we saw you laboring, but what are the things that stood out for you? Like, what was it that you felt was support at that time, or what was the support you needed, or was it provided, or was there something that could have been provided?
Knowledge of what was going to come next, because again, I was expecting to go into labor and do all of those things. Like, we were still months away from that. But I felt like the doctor didn't give me enough information, practical information about this is going to hurt. This is going to take this long.
Yeah.
This is, after it happens, this is what you can expect with your body and whatever. Like that thing for, the shower and the milk comes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would have appreciated preparation.
Yeah.
To know that my body is going to do that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. But I did feel like from my family and friends, just people being there, like you said, because during the labor process, going out for a walk in the hospital with people, just getting out of the room and then just walking around was great. Knowing that they were there even to pick me up and make me smile. And this is interesting because Brian and I process differently. So he was like, can you cry? Because it's like, I know if you don't do it now, if you don't deal with it, then you're not going to be able to, like later on, you're just going to hold it and you're not going to do it. But me, I was like, okay, in the hospital, all of my strength is for I'm going to need to push.
Yeah.
So if I break down, I'm not going to have the strength to do that. Yeah. So anyway, that's a conversation for another day about how we deal with it differently. Yeah. But I think that the people being present was very helpful. Just even if it's sitting in silence, asking me, how are you feeling about this? What's your body doing right now? It helped me to get out of my head and to actually just be able to externalize it and shikilia my strength for where I needed it. But interestingly, in the middle of number 2 and number 3, we also lost a baby very, very early. So, I remember we were trying, right? So, and this baby number 2 is one who took the longest. Okay, baby number 2 who is in the world right now. Yes, I guess pregnancy number 3.
Yes.
So this one took the longest. We're trying. And then I don't know what I was doing. I think I was measuring my thyroid levels or whatever. And I also found out my HCG levels are going up. And HCG is human growth hormone, I think.
Chorionic hormone. Yeah.
Dr. Sophie. Dr. Sophie is there.
It's a pregnancy hormone.
Yes, exactly. And it should be increasing as you're pregnant. So for some reason, I went for a test and found out it was increasing. Again, before we've missed the period.
Yeah.
So I was like, it has landed.
Yeah.
We're doing this thing. Yeah. And then, it increased. And then at some point, it started to go down again. So again, call the same doctor and he tells me, now, Beth, here's your problem. You see, the reason we wait for you to miss the period is because there's things you should not know. Yeah, you're looking behind the curtain. This happens all the time.
Yeah.
You might land one and then it goes because the body knows this one is not ready for the world. So for some reason, it that one now just landed. I didn't feel bad. I was like, okay, you're making sense. Because it's this is your problem. Why are you going to look for information? Just wait for your body to tell you, okay,
it's ready.
Yeah. But now you're going to see things that you are not meant to know. You're looking in the engine. What do you know about how engines work? Yeah, so anyway, that was an aside because interesting, the way that he said it made me laugh and then it just made sense in that moment. But he was a lot more... In the second pregnancy, he was a lot more cautious about me, asking me, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's happening?
Yeah.
And he's the one who insisted every single visit we had to go and do an ultrasound. He didn't even charge me for all of them.
Yeah.
So he charged me on and off. But he made sure that our visits always, and he'd turn the screen and show me, see, everything is fine. Everything is okay. We're doing well here. Let's see you again next month. Yeah. Yeah.
So it seems then the thing that you're both saying that is so critical is that support from your loved ones, your community. And there's always this fear, I think, for people on the outside about saying the wrong thing, right? We are terrified. We want to support. Everyone wants to support you. They love you. They mean well for you. But they're like, if I don't say the right thing, I'll be cut out. I'll be... ostracized from this person's life. So what are things that people can, given now from you, the recipients of these words, what are things you would say not to say? You've said what your doctor said. You'll get another one. Quick, fast, get on with it. How help us.
I appreciated that, honestly. And people take things differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, but me, I'm okay with you're healthy. Another one will come. Yeah, it's fine. Actually, yeah, if you just try again, it's okay. I like the facts. I like the science. I like being able to understand this is what went wrong.
Yes.
So tell me, by the problem is not you.
Yeah.
You'll be okay. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was different for you.
No, but you see, that's not what he was saying. He was not saying you're healthy, and there was no assurance from the medical perspective that everything else seems fine.
Yeah.
And don't worry, my dear.
Yeah.
Heal up, come back, let's try again.
Yeah.
We can get another one. The delivery is very different.
It is,
You're saying the same thing,
yes,
but it's different.
Yeah.
It's different from, don't worry, we'll just try for another one, you'll get another one. You've not assured me as to whether
you don't
it
even
is
know what went
possible.
wrong.
Yeah.
You don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
There's no commission of inquiry that has been formed. You have just assumed that this is possible,
Yeah.
Like there's that. So I think some of the things that, so for me, I find that triggers for me would have been the whole, don't worry, you'll get another one. These things happen, or I know the one I've had people say is that whole thing for you never know, maybe even they could have had a deficiency or, or a defect or something like that. You're like, how do you know? You're not the doctor, But I guess
I'm like, that gives me hope. I'm like, actually,
it's true.
God decided.
But it's true. And I guess it depends. I think it's a sensitivity. I think the question is, what are the safe things to say? I think that's those things that almost can't. And to me, it would just be, how can I help you now in this season?
Yeah.
Because then you're letting somebody be able to process their feelings and let you know how they would, they want to communicate how.
Yeah.
And if they don't, it's also okay to just come and sit in silence.
Yeah.
And just serve them.
And say, I don't know what to
it
say.
would be if they have another child.
Yeah.
Try and get the baby and take them. Try to take the other baby out for a few hours just to let them to have some downtime. If you can take them for a sleepover, if you're that close, do it. You know. If you're in a position to just be able to allow the couple to just have alone time for some time to just process.
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing to do,
Yeah.
And it's okay to just also tell somebody it's okay for you to be sad.
Yeah.
It's okay for you to feel the way you're feeling.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to be asked, like, what can I do for you? Do you feel like you can articulate it in that season?
And it's okay, because even if I say I don't know, it's also honestly, then it's also my state of mind. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's also okay.
Yeah.
And then now at that point, now you sit and start fishing for the things you can see, right?
Yeah.
It's the house he's trying to cook, let me help her. It's the this, or is it the bringing home dinner, or is it the,
Yeah.
It's the trying to, I think one of the things I've learned, and I've learned this from a good friend of mine, is that sometimes it's the unsaid things that really make a big impact. It's the thinking about, sometimes imagine you're dealing with this heaviness and then you have to think about mundane things like vinguo zimeoshwa, what are we eating for dinner tonight, or visitors are coming.
Yeah.
I now have to give the housey instructions,
Yeah.
There's those things that honestly just lift a weight for somebody and they don't have to say them.
Yeah.
It's the just be be sensitive to what's happening in terms of the environment also. Yeah.
Is it possible as well that there's a part you're playing here in the I'm receiving whatever they're giving me, even though it doesn't fit my need exactly, but I can see the intention, right? Because for you, that help of, okay, so you can see what's needed around the house and then you step in and you sort it out. And then that is something that for you, because your love language, let's say, is service, right? So you can see that somebody feels in the need and that helps and lifts you up. But for somebody else, I don't care. Let it burn. Let it all burn.
It's true.
But so what I'm saying is that there's also a recognition of, I don't need all of that, but you know what? They're trying. You know what? As in, I can see they came, and I can see what they're trying to do here is to be present and to help me.
Yeah.
Even though it's not the right thing, even though I couldn't care less if the dishes were done.
Yeah.
But I can see that they're doing it from a place of love and they're just trying to help. So it's like there may not be necessarily 100% clicking of I know exactly the right thing to say, the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But for both parts, there is I intended to offer my hands, to offer my time, to offer my whatever.
Yeah.
And then you receive the intent rather than the actual action.
I like that. I think it's what you're saying basically is grace for everybody. Grace for the one grieving and grace for the one supporting. Because we are all coming to a place where we don't know what to do.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? It's a new terrible thing. And we are trying our best. So I give you grace and I appreciate the attempts that you're making and I accept what you're offering. And then we don't dwell so much on because yes, there's clearly things people shouldn't say, and people who don't have that skill should just not come.
But at the same time,
Yes.
just to say what you're saying, I don't think that even if you came to visit me, Sophie, and said something that just set me off or triggered me, that I'll cancel you.
You shouldn't.
You see, no, that's not going to be the case. We'll
Yeah.
still continue to be friends, and I mean, I think later on you'll still process it and understand that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, at that particular time,
Yes.
it will sting. It
Right.
will mean I'll cancel you, but it will sting.
Yeah.
So the question is there, just being mindful.
Yes.
And I feel like it's the same thing. Also, even when somebody has had a loss of a person,
Yeah.
a parent, or there are things
And anyone.
you'll hear people saying, "Don't
God's
come and
will.
tell me the Lord gives and the Lord takes away." Don't come and tell me
He lived a long
things
life.
like he lived a long life.
Yeah.
Don't come and tell me he's in pain no more,
Yeah.
or she's in. There are things just be sensitive to some of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree totally. And it's just that all around, be gracious even in the comments that you're making, and also be gracious in receiving. You're going to meet those people who they really don't
No
have
filter.
filters, tone, they don't understand. But again, like you said, they came. And that is sometimes much better than the one who has not come and is sending thoughts and prayers from a safe
That's
distance.
sending you thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers is the worst
Praying
thing
for you,
can
and
do.
you've not.
You've never prayed. Stop it. Just bring whiskey. That is a better gift for my pain.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah.
I guess the beauty of it is, I think, and that's the purpose of this whole conversation, is if you are in a situation where you're grieving, or in a situation where you've had a miscarriage and you don't know what to do, what are the next steps, surround yourself with a village. Therapy is also an important thing. Please don't, there's no loss too small or too big. There's nothing like I lost it. I lost mine at 2 months, right? A month? 2 months? Yeah. Yours was at 6 months. But there's no way you can say, it was so early,
was
hata
worse.
ukuwa na,
Yeah.
and this was, whatever
Loss
you're
is
feeling,
loss.
your feelings are valid. Please just make sure you are, and even for men, please. I think we also need to support groups for men. I think as you're supporting the women, I wish the men could also rally in that way, or sit both of you together in that room, not just the women.
Yeah.
I wish the men could also be included in a lot of these conversations, because they're left to navigate this
Yeah.
in a hard way. And so, ninja parents, the male version, we are here for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know I hate to leave it on such a downer, because it feels like, oh God.
Oh no, but there's joy.
But there's
still
joy. And in your case, there has been. And of course, your children will never take away the memories
take
and the
the
loves
place.
of the ones that you lost. And that's not why you have them. They're not replacements. But you have moved forward in love and joy, and now you get to be parents, which is a whole
and
other
the
JDs.
I know. And the funny thing about that
Yeah.
is, the fear never leaves you.
Never, even now.
It never leaves you.
Yeah.
Even when they're out of the body.
Now it's even worse, I think, because now you're like, anything. A hawk can carry them away. But that we shall discuss in another episode. The continuous fear of
Parenting. Being a parent. Your heart running around outside of your body.
and what you can't and cannot do. So we'll cover that in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
So I think we end it on, it's better to have loved and lost, or had and lost, than
to
never
never
to have
had.
tried at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, wisdom. See you guys in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.